Hello everybody. Today we are going to discuss the electrolytic cell and the electrolysis process, which is the last session in the electrochemistry chapter, our chapter 4. Let's start in our different way, in our smart way. Let's go to our smart board. And now we are going to talk about the electrolytic cells, which are the system which convert from the electric energy into chemical energy through non-spontaneous redox reaction. Okay, the electrolytic cell will be composed of one cell which is containing the cathode and the anode and the electrolyte. What is the electrolyte? It is the solution or the molten which will conduct electricity through the transfer or the movement of the positive and negative ion. So the electrolyte must be liquid. We are calling it the liquid conductor because it must be liquid to contain the free movement of the positive and negative ion. What will be done in the electrolytic cell? The positive ion in the electrolyte will be transferred to the negative pool, and there is the reduction reaction which will be occurred. And we have discussed before that the reduction must be done at the cathode. So here you can make a reduction, so you are in the cathode electrode. Okay, and the negative ion will transfer to the positive rod, which is the anode, so you can make here an oxidation reaction. So the reduction and the oxidation, the redox reaction here is done by your control. So it's a non-spontaneous redox reaction, as it's an opposite to the galvanic cell, which we have studied before, that the redox reaction is done by itself or with spontaneous or by spontaneous redox reaction. Okay, the electrolytic cell or the structure of the electrolytic cell must contain liquid electrolyte, either melt or solution. So the solid electrolyte cannot work, cannot conduct electricity because of the transfer of the positive and negative ion can only be in the liquid electrolyte. So we can call it a liquid conductor of electricity. It can be salt, or it can be acid, or it can be alkali, and the salt must be salt solution. The electrolytic cell also contains two electrodes which are dipped in the electrolyte. One of them is the positive pole and the other is the negative pole. As it's the opposite of the galvanic cell, the positive pole will be the anode and the negative pole will be the cathode. As at the anode you have to do an oxidation reaction, and in the cathode you have to do the reduction reaction. Also, there is a note that the electrode may be inert as a carbon or platinum, or may be reactive as the zinc, silver, copper, or any other metal. Okay, what is the difference between the inert and the reactive electrodes? The inert will not be oxidized. It will only help the electrolyte to be electrolyzed, to be partialized into positive and negative poles, or into positive and negative ions. But in the reactive electrodes, the copper and zinc and silver, you have to know that the electrode itself must be oxidized or must be reduced. So when you need to separate only some particles in the electrolyte, you have to use inert electrolyte or inert electrode. But when you are willing to make a difference in the electrode itself, you have to make, or you have to use, the reactive electrodes. Okay. In the electrolytic cells, if you put copper to chloride solution, it will be electrolyzed. It will be break down into positive and negative ion. The positive ion will go to the cathode or the negative pole from the battery, and the negative ion will go to the positive pole or to the anode. So when the positive ion goes to the positive ion is neutralized. So you are decreasing the positive charge, so it is a reduction reaction. And in the anode, the negative charge will be neutralized, so the negative charge will be decreased, so you are making an oxidation reaction. And the electromotive force of the electrolytic cells must be with the negative charge, not as the galvanic cells, when it must be with the positive charge. What is the electrolysis? The electrolysis is a chemical decomposition of a substance by the means of electricity. Okay. When an external battery is operated to the electrolytic cell, the positive ion travels to the cathode, and then the positive ion will be neutralized, so you are gaining electron and you are making reduction reaction. And the anions or the negative ion will travel to the anode, to the positive electrode, to be neutralized, so you are losing electron and you are making an oxidation reaction. And this means that the redox reaction done with the mean of the electricity, so it's a non-spontaneous redox reaction with negative charge EMF. So the electrolytic cell, you have to use an external source of electricity. You have to make a battery before you give it to the electrolytic cell. And there is a comparison between the metal electrode and the electrolyte in the conduction of electricity. The metal electrode conducts electricity through the movement of the electrons, and in the electrolyte you conduct electricity through the movement of free ions in the liquid conductor. So you can call the electrodes electronic conductor, and you can call the electrolyte liquid conductor. As we have said before, the liquid conductor must be containing liquid as molten or as solution to help the positive and negative ion to transfer from one to another. Okay. What is the applications of the electrolysis or the electrolytic cell? We have three applications. The first is electroplating. What is the electroplating? The electroplating is formation of a thin layer of a certain metal on a surface of another metal to protect it and to give it some shiny appearance. Okay. When you are making electroplating, you have to set up the apparatus as shown in the figure. You have to connect the substance that you will electroplate to the negative pole, which is the cathode, and you have to connect the metal that you are using in electroplating as silver to the anode. So you have to use an electrolyte with silver positive ion to facilitate the oxidation of silver and increase the silver positive ion that can be deposited or reduced at the cathode half cell. So you are making the steps to make electroplating to a jug by a silver layer. Okay. Clean the surface of the jug very well to facilitate the silver to be deposited on it. Okay. Second, prepare the electrolytic cell containing cathode and anode and electrolyte. You are going to connect the anode to the pure silver rod, and the cathode is the jug which will be electroplated, and the electrolyte is solution containing silver as silver nitrate. And here is very important note. What is it? The silver is precipitated in most of its solution. Okay, which is the solution which will be used as silver positive ion? Only the silver nitrate could be used, because as we have studied in chapter 2, silver nitrate is a soluble substance or a soluble solution, and we have said today that the electrolyte must be liquid, must be in an aqueous form to have the positive and the negative freely moved. Okay, so you are going to make that, and the cell reaction will be oxidation and reduction, but now it's non-spontaneous by the means of the external battery. The silver rod will be oxidized, so it will lose electron and converted into silver positive ion in the aqueous solution. So after that, the silver positive ion will be reduced and deposited on the jug to convert itself into silver metal, which will be the electroplating layer. Okay, what is the importance of the electroplating? protect the metal from rusting and from corrosion. The other use will be it will give the metal tools the shiny appearance and it will give a higher value to that metal. Okay, the other application in the electroplating will be the extraction of aluminium. The extraction of aluminium will be the other application in the electrolysis cells. Okay, the preparation or the extraction of aluminium couldn't be as we have studied before in chapter 1 when we extracted the iron from its ore by the means of reducing agent, because the aluminium is more reactive than iron. So we have to make the reduction reaction to lose that oxygen from its ore by another mean or by another method. So we are making electrolysis, or we are using the electrolysis cells to separate the oxygen from the aluminium, because the aluminium is more reactive than the iron and more complicated or more binded to the oxygen. Okay, the aluminium ore which we are getting from the Earth's crust will be solid substance that is called bauxite. And we have studied that the electrolyte must be liquid, so the bauxite must be dissolved in its solvent, which is the cryolite, which is sodium aluminium hexafluoride. Okay, so the cryolite acts as solvent for bauxite to convert it from the solid state into liquid or into aqueous state to be ionized and be partialized in the electrolytic cell. And we are using the fluorspar, which is the calcium fluoride, as a flux. What is the flux? The flux is a catalyst which is used to decrease the melting point of any solid substance. So the fluorspar will act as a flux that decreases the melting point of the mixture from 2045 into 950 Celsius. So you are using the cryolite to dissolve the bauxite. What is the bauxite? Bauxite is the aluminium ore, which is the aluminium oxide. And you are going to use the fluorspar, which act as flux to decrease the melting point from 2045 into 950 Celsius. And recently, you are going to change the cryolite by a mixture of sodium and aluminium and calcium fluoride salts. So you are going to use sodium fluoride and aluminium fluoride and calcium fluoride instead of the cryolite. Why? Because this mixture will do two things. The first, it will be with a low melting point, so it will decrease the melting point. And it has low density, so it decreases the density. And this facilitates the separation of the molten aluminium at the bottom of the cell. Okay. When you are going to extract the aluminium from its ore, you are going to use the aluminium ore and the cryolite and the fluorspar as the electrolyte. And what is the anode? What is the cathode? As we have said before, when we are going to separate the electrolyte only, we are going to use anode and the cathode in an inert form. So you can use here carbon rods to act as anode, and here steel furnace with lining from the inside by carbon or by graphite to be inert also. So you are going to make anode and the cathode in the form of carbon or graphite, because you are going only to separate the aluminium from its oxide. So you are going to use inert electrodes, not active, like we have done in the electroplating. Okay, the anode with the positive pole and the cathode with the negative pole. And here the aluminium oxide will be separated from each other as aluminium positive 3 and oxygen negative 2. So the negative ion will transfer or will travel to the anode because it's positive, so it will be attracted to the positive charge and change it into oxygen gas and it will release. And the aluminium positive will travel to the negative pole and change to the aluminium metal, which will be in a molten form and will be separated from its ore. Okay, so the anode is the carbon rods and the cathode is a steel container which also plated with a carbon or graphite to be inert, just to connect electricity and partialize or decompose the aluminium oxide. The electrolyte will be molten bauxite. You cannot say bauxite only, because the bauxite is a solid substance, and we have said before that the electrolyte must be liquid. Okay. The aluminium oxide will be separated into aluminium positive and oxygen negative. So the aluminium will travel to the cathode negative charged electrode to be transferred into aluminium when it gains electrons, so it has done the reduction reaction. And on the other hand, the oxygen negative charged ion will be transferred to anode with the positive charge to be neutralized and converted into oxygen gas, and it will lose 6 electrons. When you are connecting the two half cells or two half reaction together, you will get this overall cell reaction with the aluminium converting into aluminium solid and oxygen negative ion converted to oxygen. But the oxygen, in its way to up, it will react with carbon in the anode rods and converting it into carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide gas. So the anode rod must be changed from time to time, because it's changed from the solid state into gaseous state, and it will be released, and the anode can be ended anytime. The other application and the last application is the purification of metals. You are going to purify the purities, as in industry we can get only 99% pure copper, and the remaining 1% will decrease its ability to conduct electricity and will be containing very high value metals like gold and silver. So we are going to separate this 1% of the impurities to increase its ability to conduct electricity and to make a use of the high value or the higher value metals like silver and like gold. Okay, how could we purify the copper from its impurities? Here you are going to connect the impure copper, which containing zinc and contains iron and contains copper and contains silver and contains gold. Okay, and here you will connect a pure copper you have done before. Okay, and the electrolyte will be copper solution with copper sulfate solution. Then, because of the higher reactivity of zinc and of iron, they can replace the copper in the electrolyte. So the zinc will be oxidized and dissolved as zinc positive ion. Also, iron will be dissolved and oxidized into iron positive ion. Copper also will be oxidized as copper positive ion. But the silver and the gold, which are the higher value metals, cannot be oxidized. Why? Because they are below the copper in the electrochemical series. So they cannot replace copper in the copper sulfate solution. So you will collect the solid deposit that is fall below the anode to make use of them or to sell them, because they are very rich and very precious, so you can make use of them. Okay, so after that, the copper only will be reduced, because the copper is the below element and the bottom element of this, so it will be the only metal that can be reduced at the cathode. So the net result of that purification method, that you make the copper to dissolve, then you will make it to deposit here, it will be oxidized, and after that it will be reduced. So you are doing oxidation and reduction by the means of electricity, by the means of non-spontaneous redox reaction. Okay, so We are going to read that. At the anode, the copper will be oxidized, the iron will be oxidized, the zinc will be oxidized, but the gold and the silver will not be oxidized. Why? Because they are below the copper in the electrochemical series, so it's difficult for them to replace the copper in the copper sulfate solution. And after that, you are going to separate these rich metals to sell them or make use of the silver and of the gold. On the other hand, at the cathode, the copper will be reduced and the zinc positive ion and the iron positive ion cannot be reduced because they are above the copper in the electrochemical series, so the copper only will be reduced. As we have said, the copper positive ion travels from the anode to the cathode, so you are making oxidation and reduction for the copper by the means of electricity. Okay. Another words we can said Faraday first law and Faraday second law. What is that? As we have said, the copper will be oxidized, so the mass of the anode will be decreased. The copper will be deposited here and reduced, so the mass of the cathode will be increased. So always you have a mass change, or you are going to decrease the anode mass and increase the cathode mass. So you have to know this mass change depends on what? Faraday has made two experiments to give us an explanation for the mass change and said to us the mass depends on what? In Faraday's first law, he said that the mass of the material that is formed or that is consumed at the electrodes will be depending on the quantity of electricity that passed through the electrolytic cells, and he proved that by his first experiment. He connects different quantities of electricity to the same electrolytic cell, and he will find the mass that is precipitated on the cathode or decreased or evolved from the anode, and he will compare these masses together. In that experiment, he found that at the 1000 coulomb battery, the mass deposited on the copper will be low, and when he increases the amount of electricity, the mass deposited will be increased. And in the 5000 coulomb electricity battery, the mass PPT will be the most. You will be able to say that the mass change in the electrolytic cells is directly proportional to the quantity of the electricity. So, if the quantity of electricity increased, the mass change will be increased also. In another experiment, he will explain to us that the mass of different materials formed or consumed at the anode or at the cathode will depend on the equivalent mass of the element. What is the equivalent mass? The equivalent mass of an element is the gram of the atomic mass or the atomic mass over the valency of the element. Okay. In this experiment, he will pass the same quantity of electricity in a certain time to different types of electrolytic cells, and he will find the mass of the aluminium, copper, and silver in the different electrolytic cells connected at the cathode or evolved at the anode. In this experiment, he will find that in aluminium electrolyte cell, the mass precipitated is low, and at the copper, the mass precipitated will be more. And in the silver electrolytic cell, the mass precipitated will be the highest. Why? Because the equivalent mass of the aluminium equal 9. As we have said before, the equivalent mass will be calculated by this mean, the atomic mass over the valency. And here, the atomic mass over the valency. The atomic mass over the valency. So, when the atomic mass increased, the mass change also will be increased because its conclusion is the mass change is directly proportional to the equivalent mass or the equivalent weight. As you have as you are seeing the calculation of this experiment, the equivalent weight of the aluminium is 9, the equivalent weight of the copper is 32, the equivalent weight of the silver is 108. So you are seeing that the equivalent weight increased, so the mass PPT will be also increased. Okay. We have some definitions we must know in the physics, and you can study, in other words, in chemistry. The coulomb, which is the unit of quantum electricity, we can study, in other words, that it's the quantity of electricity which, when passed in a solution of silver ions, it will precipitate 1.118 milligrams of silver metals. And the Faraday, which is also a quantity of electricity, it's the quantity of electricity needed to precipitate the equivalent mass of any element. And here is the most important one, the general law of electrolysis, which said the passage of 1 Faraday of electricity, which is 96500 coulomb, through an electrolytic cell leads to the dissolution or evolution or deposition of the equivalent weight in any element. Okay, dear students, we have finished our chapter 4, electrochemistry, which starts from 4 weeks ago, and we have discussed all the electrochemistry and how can we change from the electric energy into chemical energy in the electrolytic cell, and how can we change from the chemical energy into electric energy in galvanic cells. In our different way, in our smart way, we have finished chapter 4, and I will wait for your response and your comments to give us your feedback on that way that we have discussed our chapter.